I'm Peter Cook here on Capitol Hill. Welcome back to Street Smart. Been on the Hill because Secretary of the Treasury Tim Geithner has been in front of the House Financial Services Committee talking about international financial standards, those Basel capital standards just negotiated. I'm joined now by the chairman of the committee, House Financial Services Committee Chairman Barney Frank, to talk about the hearing today, some other issues. Mr. Chairman, as always, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Are you satisfied with what you heard today from Secretary Geithner that these new international rules the U.S. has signed on to are A, going to be tough enough, and two, they aren't going to penalize U.S. banks?
Oh, absolutely. And, there's a compromise there. We might have, on our own, made them a little tougher. But the importance of having a transnational process is that there'll be the same rules. So, yes, if America was doing it on their own, some people in America would have wanted to be a little tougher. But in the interest of having uniformity so there's no competitive disadvantage for American banks, we agreed to that, and it's a pretty good set of rules. Now, it's accompanied by some decisions we made in the financial reform bill, because Basel deals with the banks, and we have similar kind of powers to our people for the non-bank financial institutions. But the Basel rules, I think, are a very important step forward, and they do provide protection against any discrimination against our banks.
There was some suggestion that Sheila Bair, when she was at the talks in Switzerland, pushed for perhaps a shorter transition period. Ultimately, it's 8 years till the end of 2017. The Germans had pushed for 10 years. Is 8 years the right amount of time?
Well, again, you asked two questions, and you have to look at them together. One, in the abstract, is this the best thing? Two, does it discriminate against American banks? And to be a participant in an international agreement so that our banks were not subject to any different standards, we had to make some compromises. And no, is it ideal? I've been here 30 years. I never saw an ideal absolutely put in a law. It's a very good thing. It's a very good approach. And it is the best blend of our joining in a uniform approach so we're not hurt by our banks aren't hurt, and good rules.
What are the questions still left outstanding to you in terms of what our international colleagues may have to comply with? What's still out there that's still unsettled?
Well, we talked today, for instance, about derivatives. We want to crack down on the kind of shenanigans, which is the technical term for it, that some of the people engaging with derivatives. We are pushing the European Union and our other allies to do the same thing. And the Secretary was asked about that, and he said, we're making progress. We're not quite there yet. On the other hand, the European Union was about to adopt some rules that would have discriminated against American financial institutions in the hedge fund area. We objected strongly to that. So what we're now doing, we've made a lot of progress, but we do want to make sure that we have commonality in standards in addition to the capital standards.
All right. There were other issues that came up during the course of the hearing. There were questions about Elizabeth Warren, her new role at the Treasury Department, at the White House, and you raised a question about whether or not she'll be obligated to testify in front of your committee. Did you get the answer you were hoping for?
Yes. I made it very clear that we would not. I'm very proud of the Consumer Bureau, and I'm very pleased with Elizabeth Warren, who is a much more thoughtful, level-headed person than some of the caricatures were. She'd be very good at it. And yeah, the Secretary made it clear she will be testifying. They will not try to use her status as the White House's appointee as well to keep her from testifying.
Do you think the chances of her becoming the actual director now are basically nil?
I don't know.
Should she still be considered?
Oh, absolutely. I think she would be great. It's not clear, by the way, depending on how long it is that she wants to do it. She's got her own other kind of career things. I don't think she thinks about being here for 10 years. But yeah, I think she'd be a great one. But I'm very proud that when we wrote the bill, we wrote it on the understanding that it was important for this to get up and running right away, and we did it so that these kind of things could happen. This is entirely legal, it's entirely constitutional, and it was anticipated.
All right, let me ask you about some of the other issues that came up during the course of the hearing. The Secretary was asked about China. I know not the jurisdiction directly of your committee, but even while he was talking, we got word the House may consider, as soon as next week, a vote on legislation that would essentially aim trade sanctions at China for its currency. Would you support something like that?
Absolutely. The Chinese are acting like they're very poor people, and in fact, as a nation, not individually, they've become very wealthy. The competition is wholly unfair. They are wholly manipulative of their currency. They got into the World Trade Organization, and I voted no because I was afraid of this. They insist on openness for their products. They're very restrictive about our products. In the solar and clean energy area, they don't use much of it at home, and they are subsidizing the production elsewhere. Yeah, I think the Secretary is being a little too weak here. I will definitely vote for that bill. I think the Chinese economic approach has been a very totally inconsistent with any effort at reciprocity.
Do you think there's any chance that this administration could actually back this bill?
I think that they may be in a position where they're going to have to sign it, because I think it would pass the House, certainly, by a more than two-thirds amount, enough to override a veto.
We've got other action, of course, at the White House the last few days. We got word of Larry Summers' departure. I want your assessment of what that means for the economic policies coming from this administration. Ultimately, is it a good or a bad thing that Larry Summers is gone?
I will miss his being a colleague. He was a very important contributor to us. I think we got a very tough, very fair financial reform bill that allows legitimate business to go forward but stops the abuses. And Larry Summers, as a first-rate economist, was very helpful in that. But I don't think it makes any change in administration policy. I don't think he's left because of any policy differences, and I don't think that you're going to see any change in the direction of policy.
This suggestion that he should be replaced by someone from the business world as CEO, do you buy that?
I'm not in charge of that, and you don't replace someone with an abstraction, you replace an individual. There's a mix that they have to have of people. Experience in the business world is one relevant factor, but it wouldn't be the only one, it wouldn't be the automatic one.
All right, Mr. Chairman, as always, I appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us here on Bloomberg. Chairman Barney Frank, the House Financial Services Committee, send it back to you guys in New York.